If you're in wealth management, the June 3rd Reg SP deadline is closer than most firms think. But many firms that we've spoken with aren't ready just yet. So Reg SP is the SEC's primary rule that impacts customer financial privacy and data protection rules, right? The original Reg SP rule was defined in the year 2000, but there were significant amendments made in May of 2024, and it became effective in August of 2024. Many firms were already required to comply with many of the changes that were in the Reg SP rules, the larger firms, by December of last year. And so it's pretty much any firm that's SEC regulated is where the Reg SP impacts. And given that FINRA is a quasi-governmental organization that kind of works underneath the SEC dynamic, a lot of the broker-dealers that are also regulated by FINRA, this does impact them significantly as well. So why does this matter now? I think it goes without saying that the risk of regulatory fines, data breach, and just data-related incidents are rapidly expanding, right? So you're seeing ransomware attacks that are an all-time high, fueled a lot by bad actors, but also the availability of AI tools, which is enabling a lot of the bad actors to be able to design very sophisticated attacks at firms that could, cause these firms to lose data. And these rules are there in place to protect client data. And most of these SEC regulated firms have a fiduciary that they have to essentially protect client data in a way that's above and beyond firms that don't have that responsibility. And that's why these rules are in place. In general, these rules are designed to drive a certain level of industry preparedness that wasn't previously there. So, what should firms be doing now? I think one of the most important things is you should be talking to your compliance experts, whoever those are, your outsourced compliance team. If you don't have a good one, by all means, try to reach out and seek someone that's very familiar with a lot of these new Reg SP rules. And because this impacts cyber and data, you need people that also understand implementation, that understand IT, and they understand IT security, right? So you need the right sort of compliance people to help you ensure that you're doing the right things. So the first step would be to assess where are you today in your preparedness to this new rule. Now, how does SurgeONE fit into sort of this broad sort of thing? As part of this new rule that impacts small firms that are $1.5 billion and lower in AUM. So that could be RIA firms, that could be broker-dealers. You've got the June 3rd deadline to comply with these new rules. And what are these new rules, right? And that's a question that a lot of folks ask. Number one, every firm has to have a written incident response program, not just an incident response plan, but actually a fully implemented program. And how do you detect a data breach incident? First off, what is a breach? Is it a breach or is it an incident, right? How do you respond to it? How do you recover from it? How do you prevent unauthorized access? What are the methodologies that you have in place? Who are all the affected individuals if you do have a breach? And you got to be able to identify that and notify them within a 30-day period. Not an easy task, right? You got to know what data was impacted. Is it their social security number? Is it NPI or non-public information, right? What data was involved? What was the firm doing prior to this? And then how do you protect yourself on an ongoing basis? Now, the caveat here is larger firms that were bigger than 1.5 billion of assets had the deadline of December of last year, right? And so this now impacts the smaller firms. What does that mean? The regulators, it's oftentimes the same set of regulators, right? So they're already familiar with what the larger firms have been doing. And so when they come in for an audit, they're already guns blazing. They already know what questions to ask. And so now this impacts smaller firms. And so that's a big one. Another big sort of implication of this new rule is how a firm develops their vendor management program, right? How do you oversee your service providers? Who are your service providers? Do you even have a list of all the service providers? How do you maintain contracts with each of those service providers? What kind of a due diligence program do you have to make sure that these service providers are doing what they need to be able to do? And this 30-day notification period not only impacts you, it also impacts your service providers, right? So that's a big change. And a lot of the service providers don't actually have these requisite points added to their contracts. So you got to be able to make sure that that's in there, right? So in short, June 3rd is the Reg SP compliance deadline for smaller RIAs and broker-dealers. You have to have a written incident response plan. You got to be able to look at your vendor contracts, make sure that you've got vendor oversight. Everyone's following the 30-day breach notification period. You got to have all the records that show that all of this stuff is in place, and you got to be able to be exam ready with examiners that are already used to asking these questions with a larger firm. So SurgeOne actually helps you put all of this process in place, right? So number one, we'll first identify what you're doing today. Is it enough? If not, to help you tighten that up. Very consultative approach. And then we actually have practical implementation guides and can actually build out a written IRP program and ensure that your vendors are all documented and to make sure that your vendors have the requisite notifications in place to ensure that these things are done. We do have a technology platform that enables us to do this, but we are a human first or an expert first platform. So you're always working with an individual, a human, that's a qualified human, I might add, that leverages our technology solutions to be able to do this fast and quick. If you're unsure about where you stand and you really want to have a conversation with somebody that understands this process, just click the button below and book a call, right? It doesn't hurt to have a conversation to just make sure that you're doing what you need to do.